Back in 2020, I stumbled across a machine that completely changed how I thought about personal mobility. It wasn't just a scooter, it wasn't just a piece of tech. It felt alive. That machine was the Kangaroo from a company called FURO, and honestly, it blew me away. I remember the first time I saw it. It looked like something ripped straight out of a futuristic anime movie, the kind where machines don't just move. They have personality. The Kangaroo wasn't your everyday ride to get from point A to point B. This thing was more like a lifestyle companion, a machine that blended robotics, artificial intelligence, and futuristic design into something that felt like it belonged in a utopian city, not the middle of our everyday streets. What made it so special was the insane amount of tech crammed into its frame. It had environmental mapping technology, 3D LiDAR to see the world around it, and an advanced mix of hydraulic actuators and motors that gave it the ability to shapeshift. Yes, shapeshift. This wasn't just a scooter rolling down the street. It could actually adjust and reconfigure itself depending on what was needed. It could lower itself, raise components, and even roll on its own under a special autonomous travel mode. Imagine walking out of a store and your ride literally comes to pick you up, almost like you called your dog over. That's what the Kangaroo could do, and let's not even get into the looks. My jaw dropped the first time I saw it. It didn't look like a scooter at all. It looked like something a futuristic character in a sci-fi movie would use to zip across a neon-lit city. Its little beeps and chirps, combined with subtle body movements, gave it this weird sense of personality, almost as if it was alive. I honestly loved everything about it, so much that I had to share my excitement back then. Even after all these years, I don't think anything has truly matched it. That design still feels ahead of its time, and the fact that FURO pulled it off so many years ago is pretty wild. Fast forward to now, and FURO's back. When I first heard they had something new in the works, my mind immediately went back to the Kangaroo, and I couldn't help but wonder if they could possibly top it. Their latest creation is called the Raptor, and at first glance, it's clearly part of the same family. There are some very obvious similarities, like the three-wheel setup and the signature seat design. The DNA of the Kangaroo is alive and well in this new machine. But there are also big changes, and depending on how you look at it, they might be for the better. Unlike the Kangaroo, which had this wild, futuristic aesthetic, the Raptor goes for a more down-to-earth design. Instead of looking like a robot from a sci-fi dream, it looks more like something you might actually see rolling down the road today, closer to a sleek e-bike or even a small motorcycle. It has fenders to keep the dirt off, suspension with springs, and shocks for a smoother ride, and a cockpit that screams, "modern electric ride." It feels more approachable, like FURO wanted to design something that could fit into today's streets without making you feel like you just stepped out of an anime convention. And honestly, I kind of get it. The Kangaroo was beautiful, but not everyone wants to draw that much attention when they're heading to the grocery store. But don't think FURO completely abandoned the magic that made the Kangaroo so incredible. The Raptor has its own trick up its sleeve, and it's one that really makes it stand out. At the heart of the Raptor is a modular chassis, which basically means you can customize and change its form depending on what you need. Think of it like a machine that wears different outfits for different occasions. Need a sleek little e-bike to get around town? The Raptor's got you covered. Want a stripped-down frame for something more raw and industrial looking? You can do that too. Need cargo space to haul some stuff? There's a mode for that as well. FURO even teased a few variations in a video, and some of them are straight up wild. One of the designs makes it look like a futuristic rabbit you can actually ride. Another transforms it into a cargo hauling machine. And then there's this one design that looks so strange it could have come straight out of Japanese anime. It's just two sharp spikes rising from the frame on three wheels, like something out of Neon Genesis Evangelion. It doesn't even look like a ride anymore, more like a character that would follow you around. It's clear FURO wanted to push creativity here, giving the Raptor this sense of endless possibilities. Now, let's talk performance. This isn't going to be breaking speed records anytime soon, but that's not really the point. The Raptor has a top speed of around 40 kilometers per hour, which is about 25 miles per hour. That's fast enough for city cruising, though I'll admit, part of me expected a little more kick for something this cool. As for range, you're looking at about 40 kilometers or 25 miles on a single charge. Again, that's not bad for urban use, but you'll need to plan ahead if you're thinking of longer adventures. Charging time is a bit on the long side though, up to 7 hours for a full recharge. It's the kind of machine you'll probably want to plug in overnight. The whole thing weighs in at around 54 kilograms, which is about 119 pounds when fully assembled. That's not exactly featherlight, but it's manageable. Unfortunately, FURO hasn't revealed every detail about the Raptor yet, which makes me even more curious. The company calls it a platform, hinting that the different variations we've seen are just the beginning. Who knows how many different personalities this thing might have once people start experimenting with it? And this is where I get really excited. The Kanguro was a glimpse into what mobility could look like in the future, something that felt like a robotic companion rather than just a scooter. The Raptor feels like FURO's attempt to bring some of that futuristic magic into something more practical, something more people might actually want to use every day. Sure, it doesn't look as futuristic, and maybe it doesn't have the same immediate wow factor when you first lay eyes on it, but what it does have is flexibility. And flexibility is powerful. A machine that can shapeshift into different forms to match your needs. That's the kind of tech that grows with you, adapts to your life, and doesn't get outdated after a few years. When I look at the Raptor, I see FURO trying to walk a fine line between wild creativity and everyday usability. On one hand, they know people like me want that futuristic excitement, that spark that makes you stop and say, "What on earth is that?" On the other hand, they also know the world needs machines that actually fit into our daily lives, ones that can ride on the streets without looking completely out of place. The Raptor, in many ways, is the compromise. Of course, the big question is, would you ride one? Imagine cruising through your city on something like this. People would definitely stare, whether you're in its sleek moped form or rocking the stripped-down bare-bones look. Some folks might think it's the coolest thing ever, while others might scratch their heads wondering what exactly they're looking at. And that's part of the fun, isn't it? Riding something that sparks conversation, something that makes people curious. So here's what I want to know from you. If FURO's Raptor was available in your city, would you hop on one? Would you use it for commuting, running errands, or just showing off something no one else has? Or would you prefer to stick with a traditional e-bike or scooter? Personally, I think it's one of those rides that could become a cult favorite, the kind of machine that people remember years from now, just like the Kanguro. FURO may not be the biggest name in mobility, but with creations like the Kanguro and now the Raptor, they're carving out their own unique corner in the future of personal transport. And honestly, I'm glad they are. We need more companies willing to push the boundaries, to try wild ideas that make us rethink what mobility can be. Because let's face it, the future should be exciting, and machines like the Raptor make sure it stays that way.